Hello, all you lovely people out there. How are you all doing? I'm Kate Hill, and as always, I'm here to give you the best unbiased and honest commentary about our property markets, along with some really awesome hints and tips. Today, I've got a special report for you. It is all about Brisbane and how the 2032 Olympic Games might affect the local property markets. It's a bit of a longer one, so stay tuned. Okay, are you ready? The news that the 2032 Olympics are heading to Brisbane has generated enormous excitement towards the Brisbane and Queensland economies, and out of that, of course, the property markets. And Southeast Queensland is already one of Australia's fastest growing regions. Now, Australia, as I'm sure you all know, has had a bit of a love affair with the Olympic Games. Did you know that we are only one of 2 countries that have sent athletes to every modern Olympic Games? Now, we have Australia's 3rd opportunity to host the world's greatest sporting event. I think that's arguable. Fans can expect unbeatable sports experiences in 37 world-class venues. And as you can read on the Olympics website, Australia has a decade of major international sporting events coming here in the lead up to the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Whether it's the FIBA Women's World Cup in Basketball 2022, the UCI Road World Championships in Cycling 2022, or the FIFA Women's World Cup in Football 2023. Australia knows how to put on a great show in a way that puts athletes first and gives fans the experience of a lifetime. The successful bid makes Brisbane the smallest city by population to host the Summer Games since Montreal in 1976. The main hosting zones, if you like, of the actual games will be centred around the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, and of course Brisbane itself. The Queensland and federal governments have since announced the establishment of a joint Olympic infrastructure agency to deliver key projects for the Games. The International Olympic Committee said that about 80 to 90% of the advanced Games concept venues needed for 2032 Games already existed in Brisbane or would be completed by 2032. Now, this reduces costs massively, improves feasibility of hosting the Games, and of course accelerates the economic benefits. Queensland's tourism sector will be one of the key beneficiaries, of course, a sector significantly impacted by the coronavirus pandemic due to international border closures and intermittent domestic border restrictions. According to CBRE, much of the capital investment will occur in the second half of this decade, averaging 800 million to 1.1 billion per year between 2027 and 2030. An independent economic assessment by KPMG, commissioned by the Queensland Government, has indicated that the Games will deliver a total benefit of $8.1 billion for Queensland and $17.61 billion for Australia overall. Overall, it will cost almost $7 billion to run the Games, which will be privately funded. More on this a little bit later. Now, a raft of development and infrastructure projects are ready to break ground following planning discussions between the Brisbane City Council and the International Olympics Committee. As many as 14 new sports venues in Brisbane, 7 on the Gold Coast and 5 on the Sunshine Coast, were proposed as part of Brisbane's original Olympic bid. So let me take you through some of the things that are happening on that front. Brisbane's new venues include the redevelopment of the existing cricket stadium in Woolloongabba to serve as the main stadium, hosting the opening and closing ceremonies, as well as, of course, the athletics. The stadium is surrounded by some of Brisbane's busiest arterial roads, leading to large crowds of pedestrians having to wait at multiple sets of traffic lights, God forbid. It has long been criticised for its lacking sense of arrival or defined front door. It will now be upgraded to increase capacity from 42,000 to 50,000 spectators as part of the forthcoming redevelopment at a cost of $1 billion. The Queensland State Government has long identified the Hamilton North Shore as a priority development area, and now it's firming to host the 14,000-bed Athletes Village for the Games. The village will host more than 10,000 athletes and team officials for the Olympic Games and more than 5,000 for the Paralympics. The site, which is about 6 kilometres from Brisbane CBD, was identified in documents from the IOC praising its prime waterfront location, proximity to the CBD, competition and training venues and transport connections. The Brisbane City Council recently finished a $650 million upgrade to the Kingsford Smith Drive, increasing connectivity to this site. And it is near the dual gateway bridges, providing easy links to the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast venues. For the next few years, Hamilton North Shore's 50 hectares of government-owned riverfront land will be boosted with a number of commercial and residential developments to prepare this precinct once international guests arrive. According to the IOC's feasibility assessment for Brisbane, there could potentially be 2 athlete villages, one in Brisbane, one on the Gold Coast, as well as a day village on the sunny coast. The Gold Coast will contribute 2,000 beds with existing hotels in Surfers Paradise, as well as other hotels on the Gold Coast for team officials. Like the Athletes Village developed at Southport on the Gold Coast for the 2018 Commonwealth Games, the Hamilton Athletes Village could be repurposed after the Games as a mix of private and public housing. Now, in early August, plans for the Roma Street Cross River Rail Priority Development Area, bit of a mouthful, above the new Roma Street Underground train station were approved to include a new indoor arena to host swimming and water polo. It was originally pitched as the Brisbane Live Arena, a 17,000-seat entertainment venue. The Roma Street Cross River Rail PDA covers about 32 hectares as a gateway to the city centre. An additional 2 hectares of public space will be added to the Roma Street parklands, along with new residential buildings along Parkland Boulevard, which would include a mix of social and affordable housing. Cycling and pedestrian paths would connect to the Olympic Indoor Arena next to the heritage former Roma Street railway station, which has been earmarked for adaptive reuse. It also includes provisions for a new public plaza beside the new Cross River Rail Station building. The arena is expected to be completed by 2024 and would also have outward-facing retail opportunities on the Roma Street frontage, as well as a Sky Lounge, which operates as a function space during non-event times. The new arena will host swimming and water polo, with the construction of a temporary pool which would be dismantled following the Olympics. The venue would have the ability to host basketball, netball, and other indoor sports. Now, other venues will include the Brisbane Outdoor Sports Centre. The new venue will be located in or near the inner Brisbane suburb of Hurston or Albion, just north of the CBD, not far from the Brisbane Showgrounds, Ballymore and Victoria Park located nearby. The Brisbane Aquatic Centre is being redeveloped into a world-class indoor swimming centre. Part of the Sleeman Sports Complex, the Aquatic Centre consists of 4 main swimming pools, a 50-metre indoor Olympic pool, a 50-metre outdoor Olympic pool, a 25-metre diving pool, and a 25-metre lap pool. A new 10,000 capacity Chandler Indoor Sports Centre would replace the existing Chandler Arena to host gymnastics. It's located at the Sleeman Sports Complex in Brisbane. Formerly known as the Sleeman Sports Centre, the arena was built for the 1982 Brisbane Commonwealth Games and has a seating capacity of 2,700. It can host a range of sports including basketball and netball. As part of Brisbane's bid to host the Games, it was proposed the Chandler Arena be replaced by this new 10,000 capacity Chandler Indoor Sports Centre. Now, also of interest, I think, is that in July, Brisbane's Lord Mayor confirmed a new precinct was being planned on the major 7-hectare site on Montague Road in South Brisbane, bordering West End. The site will be purchased for the Games to house the International Broadcast Centre for the event. After the Games, the centre will be converted to parklands. The venue, where the world's media will converge during the Games, is expected to be about 60,000 square metres and would be within walking distance of the Brisbane Convention Centre and Exposition Centre. The industrial land at South Brisbane, occupied at the moment by the Parmalat Milk Factory, was earmarked in Brisbane City Council planning in 2014 for future urban and cultural development. The council confirmed that negotiations with the owners of the business on the site were underway. It's not a done deal yet. A similar proposal was mooted by the state government in 2012 and involved a mix of public and commercial use along the riverbank, including an entertainment, retail and dining precinct and parkland. Elsewhere around Queensland, we have proposed venues and events happening in Moreton Bay, which is just north of Brisbane, Ipswich, Toowoomba and Townsville. Now, in terms of the local economies and property markets, what are we looking at? Property price growth is almost always directly connected to the economic health of an area. The Journal of Economic Perspectives lists some of the categories of benefits after the Games to include improvements in infrastructure and increased trade, foreign investment or tourism, and intangible benefits such as the feel-good effect or civic pride. The goodwill that evolves from something like this towards a city or an area is a benefit that can't always be measured, but some benefits can be measured. It takes Brisbane's status to a global level. I've already mentioned the obvious. Tourism will improve during the Games. But what about before and after? When the Sydney Games were announced in 1993 to when they were actually held in 2000, property values increased about 60%. Now, this is in the lead up to the Games. The Queensland Olympic Task Force estimates that the Games could create around 130,000 direct jobs and literally tens of thousands of indirect jobs, particularly in tourism, of course, but also trade. The Queensland government has announced that additional infrastructure projects will be fast-tracked to the value of approximately $5 billion. The Games will require a fair few additional projects to include roads, rail, and other facilities, some of which I've already mentioned. I think it's the transport infrastructure that is going to be the key consideration here. Infrastructure that is yet to be built, that currently doesn't exist. In particular, from the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast and Ipswich to Brisbane. It really will turn Brisbane into one big metropolis. Like it or not, Brisbane, it's going to happen. Large infrastructure projects tend to have a very positive influence on housing prices, with the extra requirement for workers creating an additional demand for housing during construction processes. Large projects also tend to leave a legacy of permanent housing demand uplift, either through additional employment or via other benefits such as improved transport options and travel efficiencies related to transport infrastructure projects, as well as additional amenities introduced to the area during social and retail outlets. So we really should see a consistent upward trajectory of price growth in property values over the coming decade as these projects are being built and completed. I'm very much talking about the lead up to the Games, not so much during the Games. And I am really sorry to be boring. I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but do still be careful. Brisbane is a big place at the end of the day with lots of local property markets. Not everything in Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast, and particularly the Gold Coast will grow in value, and you should keep an eye on the fundamentals like you would at any time when you are assessing a property investment. I can see it now. There's going to be a lot of property spruikers out there selling property that won't have long-term growth prospects. There's going to be potential long-term overdevelopment of property in areas that just won't be able to sustain long-term growth because those fundamentals aren't there. They might seem like they are over the next couple of years while everyone's all excited and there's all this hype, but be careful and do your due diligence, okay? So if you are reckless, I promise you, you will regret it. So be careful. Now, we will keep you posted on all things property from around Australia as our year progresses. I am definitely giving you the best content and commentary here on the channel, so please hit the subscribe button, click the like button too. I do really, really appreciate it. And I will see you again really soon. Bye.